everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Sneha Safala and I am super excited to show you guys my book collection. I started reading during lockdown, so obviously I couldn't buy a lot of books during lockdown. I used to read on my phone, but after lockdown I've had the opportunity to buy more and more books. So we are going to be looking at all the books that I own. I am going to be talking about my favorite books, my favorite authors, and my favorite genre. If that's something that excites you, then this is definitely the video for you. Let's start with a book that actually got me into reading. I know most people like to hate on her, but I did get into reading because of her books. So I do own Colleen Hoover books. I own Ugly Love, Verity, All Your Perfects, It Ends With Us, and November 9. I would say that these three books are my favorite, and I did enjoy reading all these three books. But my favorite has to be All Your Perfects. I don't know, I just loved this book very much. I might be biased, but I really loved this book. Another author that actually got me into reading is Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I have One True Love, and I have Daisy Jones and the Six. My favorite has to be Daisy Jones and the Six. I will literally read anything, literally anything that Taylor Jenkins Reid writes. She's one of my favorite authors, and usually I have a hard time reading books that doesn't have at least a hint of romance because I need to have it. But I would literally read anything she writes. I literally remember reading this book in my math class and crying and sobbing. I feel like we should start with the interconnected standalones. We have Off-Campus series by L. Kennedy. So the first book is The Deal, the second book is The Mistake, the third book is The Score, and then we have The Goal. I've read this series twice. So initially when I was reading it for the first time, I really did love The Mistake, but when I reread it, I actually liked The Deal better. I don't know, I feel like the story was way better and the character development was way better, and I actually prefer Garrett over, what's his name? Logan. Yeah, I absolutely prefer Garrett over Logan for sure. I love all the characters, but I think Garrett is my favorite, and I heard that this book is actually going to be a movie, and I am super excited. But at the same time, I'm actually not really excited because I hate it when a book becomes a movie. I have pictured it differently in my head, and I don't want to watch and be like, eh. Next up, we have the Dreamland Billionaire series. So this series has three books. It's about billionaire brothers, obviously. So the first book is Fine Print, which follows Rowan and Zara. Second book is The Terms and Conditions, which follows Declan and Iris. The third book is Final Offer, which follows Cal and Alana. I would say that second book was actually my favorite book. I absolutely loved their story, or maybe I liked it better because I read it when I was on a vacation, but this book is so good. He's like the grumpiest brother. He has the best story, obviously, but I would say I do have a soft spot for Cal. I don't know, he's my favorite brother. It is a second chance romance. There's a single mom trope, and I don't know, I love soft guys and I love Cal, but I feel like the story was a little bit dragged. We have the Dirty Air series. The first book is Throttled, which follows Noah and Maya. Second book is Collided, which follows Liam and Sophie. Oh my god, Liam. I did not realize it actually. That makes me sad. And third book is Wrecked, which follows Jax and Elena. And the fourth book is Redeemed, which follows Santiago and Chloe. I know most of the people love third and the fourth book, but my favorite was Throttled and my favorite was Wrecked. Like, these two books are my favorite and I cannot choose between them. I just simply love them both equally. Please don't make me choose between them. I really loved both of these books equally. Like, every guy in the series is a Formula 1 driver. So there are two teams, that is, one is Bandini and I don't remember the opposite team's name. So it follows the two teams and the drivers in these two teams, and I absolutely loved the series. Next up is one of my favorite series ever, which is the Twisted series. I feel like everybody on this planet has already read it. I do not actually own the first book because I don't actually like the first book. The first book follows Bridget and Reese. Bridget is the princess, Reese is the bodyguard. You get the gist of it. Second book follows Josh and Jules. Josh is the doctor, Jules is a lawyer. It's enemies to lovers. Fourth is Twisted Lies, Christian Harper. If you guys know me, then you guys know that I love Christian Harper. But this is my favorite book in the entire series. If I had to rank these books, I would probably say Twisted Lies is my most favorite. Then comes Twisted Hate, Twisted Games, and I think Twisted Love is my least favorite. The Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver. The first book is Flawless, the second book is Heartless, the third book is Powerless, and the fourth book is Reckless. My favorite has to be Flawless and Reckless. I absolutely adore the characters, especially Theo in this book. I absolutely love him. It is a reverse Grumpy Sunshine, loved it. And the first book also I did enjoy a lot. I would say that her writing is so fast-paced, very easy to read. She's one of my favorite authors. You could finish her books in one sitting. Like, it would feel like you're watching a movie and not actually reading a book. The King of Greed. This was actually a birthday gift. I've read all the 4 books in the series and I loved the first book. And except for that, I think the rest of the series was really mid. So I had a lot of expectations. Sadly, it was very underwhelming, but it was still a good read. Just for the Summer by Abby Eminis. I have a reading vlog for this book. Please go check it out. 5 out of 5. Loved it. Loved the plot, loved the story, loved the characters. It was just wholesome and it felt very real to me. I have Keeping 13 and Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. It is the first 2 books in the Boys of Torment series. It follows Johnny and Shannon. Loved the characters, loved the story, the traumas that these characters go through. I don't know, I just love the found family, love everything about this book. This is in my top 3. The top 3 is in no particular order. I literally cannot choose between these 3 books, but this is in my top 3. I would literally do anything to meet these characters in real life. So next up we have the Magnolia Parks series. So the first book is the Magnolia Parks, second book is the Daisy Haze, and the third book is Magnolia Parks The Long Way Home. There are actually 2 more books that are out. I've not read them. I absolutely hate Magnolia and BJ. They're so annoying. I've never hated any characters, especially main characters. These 2 were so annoying, absolutely annoying, like I hated them. But I did like Daisy Hates book though, so I do want to read the 4th book, which follows Daisy Hates and Christian. Okay, so now I'm just going to be showing you guys the most random books that I own. I literally don't know why I own them, but I do. This is called Classroom Life Lessons for Students. My dad got this book from me, never read it. We'll read it someday. This is the book that my friend's brother published. Sorry, but never read it, but I still own it. I absolutely love this book. It's called Strength in Our Scars. This is by Bianca Sparacino. This book healed me in a way. It's just like 100 pages. You can absolutely finish this book in one sitting. I actually cried while reading this book. Would recommend. We have The Secret. Wow, I feel like most of them have watched the documentary. Then we have this. I don't know how to pronounce this, so I'm not even going to try. This is what I'm talking about. I do have it. I've read. I think most of the self-help books, I just buy them and I just listen to the audiobook anyway. I had this phase where I thought something was wrong with me and I used to read self-help books like all the time. I do have How to Win Friends and Influence People because I had no friends at that time and I wanted to influence people. I do have The Power of Subconscious Mind. This is by Joseph Murphy. Loved it. I've annotated it. There are a few things that I did adapt in my life from this book. And we have the OG Think and Grow Rich because obviously I wanted to think and grow rich. I still want to, but we'll see. I think I bought this book in a bulk, so this was another book that came with it. This is called The Richest Man in Babylon. Never read it. Maybe would read it. This poetry book that I bought. So I watched this show. I don't know if you remember. There was this show about Emily Dickinson on Apple Plus, I think. I was so obsessed that I bought her poetry book. This did have a cover, but I don't know where it went. I've read like a few poems. Didn't understand, so gave up. Rich Dad and Poor Dad. I read this much. I still have to read this much. Will read it someday. Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. Love his podcast. I have read this book. Really enjoyed it. These two books, I got it on a sale. This is called Got You Back by Jane Fallon, and this is Freya Not Secrets. This, I tried to read it. I couldn't get into this book, so I did not read this, but I did finish this book. So it's about husband, wife, and a mistress. So the wife gets to know that the husband is cheating on her. So she meets his mistress and they become friends because the mistress didn't know that he had a wife. I have A Walk to Remember by Nicholas Sparks. I read this book when there was a time where I did not read books. So I took like 6 months to finish this book, not gonna lie. If it's not forever, then it's not love. This is also a very old book, you can tell by the condition. This was also borrowed from a library, so that's why it is like that. The Inheritance Games, The Hawthorne Legacy, and The Final Gambit. When these books came out, the entire book talk was so obsessed. I was one of them. The second book is where it gets so good. The riddles, the puzzles, it was just so good. I don't know, I just enjoy them so much. And obviously Team Jameson. No offense to Grayson, but I just like Jameson better. The Acotar series, I've already spoken about these books in my fantasy video, so if you've not watched it, please go watch it. And obviously it's in the top 3, so I would highly recommend you go watch the video. Love these books, love the found family, love the characters, love every single thing about this book. Sarah J Maas is one of my favorite authors, you guys already know that. Love her, would read anything she writes. Throne of Glass. The second book is The Crown of Midnight. The third book is The Hair of Fire. Fourth book is Queen of Shadows, and then we have Empire of Storms. There are 2 more books left in the series, I think, and there's also a prequel. I've already read the prequel and I've read the first 3 books. That is, The Throne of Glass, The Crown of Midnight, and The Hair of Fire. I am yet to read the other 2 books that I own currently, that is The Queen of Shadows and Empire of Storms. I am actually super excited to read The Throne of Glass because there is no bad review for Throne of Glass. Everyone absolutely loved these books. I've read the first 3 books and I don't feel, very connected to these characters, but I think the story will get progressively better. I also have read the Crescent City series, House of Earth and Blood, The House of Sky and Breath. Another fantasy series that I own is the Cruel Prince trilogy, that is The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, and The Queen of Nothing. I have read The Cruel Prince, but I did not like it as much. Like, you will either really love it or you will hate it. But I did read The Wicked King. I've read like half book and I just DNF'd it, and I've not read The Queen of Nothing. I also own The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I loved this book. It is so beautifully written. It is a Greek mythology retelling. It follows Achilles and Patroclus. Loved their love story. It's so poetic and so beautiful. You just feel warm by reading it. I own Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After, but I do not own the third book because after I read the second book, I immediately had to read the third book, so I just read it on my phone. I had the best time reading it. And another fantasy read is The Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. You guys, I've already spoken about this book in my fantasy video, please go check it out. So I do have the first 3 books in the Shatter Me series, that is the Shatter Me, Unravel Me, Ignite Me. Ignite Me is my favorite book, obviously, because you see the real Aaron Warner. Haunting Adeline and Hunting Adeline. I did read Haunting Adeline. I don't know how I feel about this book because this book is so dark. I was kind of disturbed after reading this book, and I did start reading this book, but I did not finish it because I don't know, I just couldn't continue with it because it was so dark. I know a lot of people love these books, but it was just not for me. Next up, we have The Archer's Voice. I do not remember the story. I just know that he could not talk in this book. I don't know how it went also. I don't know the ending. I've forgotten. Maybe I should reread this book. But I do remember that I enjoyed this book. I don't remember what happens, but I do own this book. Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I've already spoken about this book in my other video, so I'm not going to talk much about it. The Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey. It's like all the 5 books together in one single book. Loved this book. I literally read this book during my external examination. Instead of studying for my exam, I was reading this. The ending is so good. He is the FBI agent and she is the serial killer. He is trying to catch her. I'm not spoiling anything because it's literally in the back of this book. So good. 5 out of 5. I loved this book so much. a million kisses in your lifetime. Just know that after reading this book, I had this urge to buy Chanel lipstick in every single color. That's all I'm going to say. So after watching this movie, I really wanted to read the book, so I did buy this book. It's called Call Me By Your Name. I did have Timothée Chalamet phase where I watched every single movies that he was in. It's one of those books where you just read it for the vibes. Renegades, haven't read this book. I just got this book because everybody on the TikTok and the reels, they were talking about this and I wanted to read it, but I haven't got the chance. Would read it in the near future. I do own Six of Crows. I did read this book. I don't remember what happens in this book, but I remember liking Kaz and Anish. If I remember it rightly, I did have a nice time reading this book. It's Misery by Stephen King. There's this huge famous writer, right? He gets into an accident and he is saved by his #1 fan, but it becomes creepy because she is obsessed with him and she tries to keep him in a house arrest. He's lost his 2 limbs, okay, so he cannot go or like get out of the house. That's this book. This book is like very slow paced, but the vibes are very creepy. If you want to get scared and not sleep in the night, read this book because it's very creepy. I did read Truly Devious and I have Vanishing Stairs. So this is the second book. I think there are 5 books in the series. This book actually was recommended by Haley Farm and that's why I read it, but I haven't read this book. I think I would read it in the near future. This is Silent Scream by Angela Marsons. I've read this book, loved it. Beach Read by Emily Henry. I know a lot of people love Emily Henry, but I DNF'd it. I read it once, okay, like I did not enjoy it, so I DNF'd it, and I did try to read it again, but I just could not get into it. I know a lot of people enjoy her writing, but I don't think it's for me. Maybe I will read her other books in the future. Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I know everybody loves this book and I am one of them. Then we have Anna and the French Kiss. I actually don't remember what happens in this book, but I think I had a good time while reading it and it happens in France. Love Hypothesis. You guys already know how I feel about this book. I've already spoken about it. So Spanish Love Deception, one of the books that actually got me into reading. Right Move by Liz Thomford. I have read all the 4 books in the series, but I just own Right Move for a reason, because I love Ryan Shea. If your love language is acts of service, read it. Like, go read it right now. My favorite book boyfriend ever. Okay, one of my favorite book boyfriend ever. I do have Sapiens. I've never read it. It was a gift. Maybe we'll read it in the future. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I actually watched the show and I felt like it was so underwhelming after reading the book. The book is so much better, but I have not read the second and third book because I liked it, but I did not like it enough to read the next 2 books. If you think I should read the next 2 books, then comment down below and force me to read it. From Look Off With Love. I love this book. I love Mariana Zapata. I love everything she writes. Last but not the least, I have Addicted series. It's obviously in my top 3. So I just have the Addicted series. I do not have the Calloway sisters because my favorite is Lily and Lo, obviously. So the first book is Addicted to You. The second book is Ricochet. The third book is Addicted for Now. Fourth book is Thrive. Fifth book is Addicted After All. I love Lily and Lauren. They are my favorite book characters ever. The Found Family is so good. I've read this series thrice. I've annotated it. I actually know the dialogues and the quotes from this book because I've read it so many times. Lily and Lo, they have my heart. I love them. It's in my top 3. So my top 3 is Acotar, Binding 13 and Addicted. And I know everybody's read Addicted. Most of them have already read it. If you haven't, this is your sign to go read it. The entire story is so character based, so there's not a lot of story that's happening, and that's what I love about this book. I love how these characters evolve. I love every single character in this book. Reich, Daisy, Rose, Connor, Lily, Lo, they're all amazing and they feel like family to me. I feel like I know them personally. I will reread it 1,000 times and will not get bored. If you guys like this video, or if you guys want me to make more videos like this, please like, share and subscribe. It motivates me to make more videos for you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video.